I would like to call to order the October 12th, 2021 meeting of the Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting, or Authority. May we have the roll call, please?
Beloga.
Here.
Hugheim. Lewis.
Here.
Olson. Thorson. Let the record note that there are 2 members absent, Thorson and Hugheim.
Thank you. Our next order of business is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Beloga, seconded by Commissioner Olson to approve the agenda. May we have the roll call vote, please?
Beloga.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Olson. Motion passed 3-0.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, approval of the minutes of September 28th, 2021. Commissioner Beloga, I believe you were not present,
That is correct.
so we would not have a quorum to approve the minutes. So we will wait. If Commissioner Thorson comes, we will move back to that item. Moving on then to organizational business, point 4 or 4.1, HRA Commission 2021 meeting calendar update. May we have the staff report, please?
The addition of, let me get to the right page here, sorry. In fact, I'm going to go down to the calendar. So this item is just in regard to the addition of the concurrent meeting with the Planning Commission and the HRA on Thursday, October 28th. It'll be in the council chambers here. There will be a public, it is the regular meeting of the Planning Commission, so they will have 2 items prior to us meeting concurrently. And it's just acknowledging that we're putting this on the calendar and updating the calendar.
All right. Thank you, Myra. Do I hear a motion to approve the 2021 HRA Commission meeting calendar update?
I would make that motion, but I appreciate the opportunity that we're going to have.
Can you turn your microphone on?
Chair Lewis, Commissioner Olson, I move that we make that move that motion, but I would just like to also comment that I think it's a good move that we are collaborating with others in the city government that are working in the same direction that we are. So move the motion of adding that item to the calendar.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second?
Do we need a second before there's discussion?
Yes.
Because there's items that, well, I will second it, but would like to then have discussion.
Yes, that is the way, that is the order. So it has been moved by Commissioner Olson, seconded by Commissioner Beloga, to approve the 2021 HRA Commission meeting calendar update. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Beloga.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see that we all received a WebEx invitation for that meeting, so I'm presuming that that meeting can be attended remotely.
First of all, the invitation that I sent you doesn't include the WebEx, just so you know that, but I will send that if you are going to be joining via WebEx. The WebEx can be joined remotely if you have reason to do so. And Carla's going to explain what needs to be done in order to do that.
So if I understand correctly, Commissioner Beloga, you'd like to attend the next meeting or the concurrent meeting remotely?
I need to.
Okay.
It's a matter of I'm a caregiver for a person who will have a knee replacement the night before.
Okay. Yep.
And I don't feel comfortable in leaving her
Okay,
alone.
that's acceptable.
And, you know, my first priority is family, obviously. So that's the conundrum here. But I would like to participate in this conversation.
Okay,
And I am not sure if I won't be able to participate remotely and have an interruption possibly, but, you know, I could still participate to the greatest extent possible.
well, I think that's allowed by the statute. You can, attend meetings by interactive technology if necessary for circumstances as you've described. I think all of the statutory requirements are going to be met because of the way you generally conduct your meetings via web apps. Everyone can see each other. You know, the members of the public can see everyone. Presumably that'll be the same here. And we do roll call votes, although it sounds like there might not even be any votes at this meeting. So the only requirement that we are going to have to deal with then is each location at which you're present has to be open and accessible to the parties. So we have, in the past, advised if clients don't want that to be their home, that they could go to a Starbucks or, Perkins or something like that. But you can do that from your home. We'll have to give notice of the location. So we'll have to put your address in the notice of the meeting, if that's acceptable.
That's fine.
Okay, then that should be no problem.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any further discussion?
No, that's responsive to my inquiry. Thank you.
Okay, that's good, thank you. All right, so it has been moved and seconded to approve the 2021 HRA Commission meeting calendar update. May we have the roll call vote, please?
Beloga.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye,
Olson.
Aye.
Motion passed 3-0.
thank you. Moving on to item number 4.2, Home Improvement Loan Program Update. May we have the staff report, please?
Certainly. Chair Lewis, Commissioners, this item is a brief update from. Thank you. Chair Lewis, Commissioners, this is a brief update from our last meeting when an inquiry was made by the Commission to Administrator Coleman regarding the possibility of a partial restart of the rehab programs, which are presently on hold. And she reached out, as she was directed to our General Counsel, Carla Peterson, who is here this evening, and the direction that that was reached was to move forward with the redesign of the programs and not do a partial restart at this time, and that the programs will be brought back for your approval at the next meeting in October.
Thank you for the staff report. Since this is a discussion item, I'm just going to open it up to discussion for the board. Is there any discussion? Are there any questions for Brian or Ms. Peterson? Yes, Commissioner Olson?
Thank you, Chair Lewis. Thank you. I was a little bit concerned, quite concerned actually, at our previous meeting in discovering that there were some people in limbo about this. But after reading the information and in our packet, I think what's happening here is that we have become more aware of the need for supporting people with low incomes in terms of their housing, and that the statute under which we operate as a housing and redevelopment authority does indicate that we are in fact tasked with needing to help people who are in that situation, and that the loan history has been in a context where it's been more widely viewed apparently, and I look forward to perhaps Council Peterson making comment about the context of this, but given that, I'm aware that we do need to get our house in order, so to speak, in order to do the mission that we are charged with as an HRA. So I'll just offer that thought, and I appreciate the fact that Ms. Peterson is with us tonight, and if she chooses to make comment about my comments and to maybe expand or whatever you choose to do with that, I would appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson.
Thank you.
The only comment I would make, I think, at this point is that this is being specifically directed to running one of these programs, and the statute provides that we can only provide these programs to persons of low and moderate income. And I certainly can provide the definitions of that. So staff has been working very hard to assure that this program is fitting squarely within the statutory requirements, the updated program.
Right.
So,
Commissioner Beloga.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
I'm going to get a sign.
not a bad idea.
Just hate doing that, yeah. Where was I? So have we been in non-compliance with state statute in the past?
We did not specifically analyze that based on your prior policies. We had addressed some concerns around the income levels and equity and the like that there was one particular application that concerned Administrator Coleman. And so she determined that she wanted to revisit and rewrite the guidelines. So we were asked to review the updated guidelines, but not the prior guidelines.
The reason I ask, and I understand that, that's in your letter, thank you, is if we were outside of the parameters of the statute, I'm concerned that the auditors did not make mention of that in the annual reviews for the last many years.
Commissioner Beloga, we did not make a determination that you were outside of the parameters of the statute. And so without reviewing those prior applications, they may very well have been within the parameters of the statute. But the updated guidelines, the purpose is to more closely tie the application submittals and the like, income limits, asset limits, and things like that, so that we can more easily show that we are complying with the statute.
So, and I understand that you're not able to present a recommendation at this time. Is that correct from your?
On the question of partially restarting the program,
Yes.
because I haven't reviewed the prior program guidelines, if you're asking me for, whether
Just confirmation is all.
yes, that's accurate. And I do think there's some risk to partially restarting, because I think given you're one meeting away from potentially improving the new policies, if you restart one program, people in the other program may feel that they're being treated unfairly.
No, I just wanted clarification to
Okay.
make sure that I was interpreting your document.
Have I answered your question?
No, thank you. The other part of it, and it's, for lack of a better term, customer service.
Mhm.
I always believe that it's unfair and unjust to change rules in the midst of an application. And, assuming that we're not in violation of any existing statutes, I would say that all applications that we had prior to the close down should continue on the old rules. And I would make a motion that the board authorize staff to continue in that fashion.
Okay, well, this was actually only information only tonight, so this was not actually on the agenda as an item.
You're
to be
correct,
approved.
and I'm remiss for having said that, but I will ask for that next meeting.
And that will be appropriate and good. Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Olson.
Chair Lewis, and at a previous meeting, I think we did indicate, we passed a motion at our last meeting indicating that we would be dealing with it both for discussion and action
Yes,
at the October 26th
Right.
meeting. And so I believe that in terms of giving members of the community an opportunity to speak about this issue, our public notification process will give them an opportunity to do that at that meeting on the 26th.
okay. Yes, I think that's a good that's a good comment. And yes, so our next meeting is going to be really the one where we really just come up with a decision on the program, the loan programs going forward. So,
Just for clarification, the next meeting has not been indicated as a public hearing.
can that be adjusted? Can that be changed?
Well, I don't think we've posted anything for the next meeting yet.
I haven't posted anything.
I don't believe there, well, I don't know off the top of my head whether there's a requirement for a public meeting, but I do not believe there is. So I haven't been asked to look at that. So if there isn't a requirement for a public meeting or public hearing, any member of the public can always come to your meetings and provide
That's-
comment. If we do think there's a public hearing has to be noticed at least 10 days and not more than 30 days before the meeting. So we may have an issue being able to get the publication
Right.
done.
So the timeliness of it, yes.
And
Commissioner Olson.
Chair Lewis, I think the distinction between what you were mentioned as being anybody can come to any of our meetings is what I was referring to. I think that the nature of this issue means that is quite adequate. I don't think it's timely with the information that we have at hand. We are really exploring the options about how we, as I perceive it, better apply the statute in terms of housing loans that are intended to support low income. One of the specifics that I assume will be reviewed by staff and with your council is that we need to determine what the wording means in terms of we've talked about 80% of average median income, which I believe is close, correct me, staff, if this is wrong, but 80% of average median income would mean for a family of four, I think that's the figure that we normally do use, would be 80% of approximately $100,000, which is the area average median income
For this area?
for this area. So for those who may be listening and wanting to weigh in on this, that would mean for a family of four, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that this would be eligible for people who are, in the case of a family of four, not making more than $80,000 a year, would be eligible for this program. So it goes somewhat high, and at least in my assessment.
Yep. And my understanding, Commissioner Olson, is we will be having those discussions at the next meeting, and Administrator Coleman has requested my attendance, so I will be here.
That would be
Good. Thank you.
That would be good. Are there any other comments? Because again, at our next meeting, this will be brought up, and I think at that time, there'll be a lot to discuss before we move forward. But I appreciate you being here tonight, Ms. Peterson.
Thank you,
Thank
Chair
you.
Lewis.
Yeah,
It's nice to see everyone, even with our masks on.
yeah. You learn to read people's eyes.
I have lipstick that matches my shirt, for the record. I was putting it on, I thought, why am I doing this?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Right. Okay, our next item of business is new business.
Madam Chair?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
I think that we have an open item on the floor.
It was discussion only.
Well, there was a motion and a second.
I believe that was the prior
That was the prior one. We did do that one.
Yeah, I think that was your motion that you pulled off.
Yeah.
The
The last motion
You are
was the
correct.
one that you made to,
I'm just out of phase here tonight. Sorry.
You're just a beat behind us. It's okay.
It's been a tough day.
Hey, if you have someone who's going to be having a knee replacement, I've done those. I know that's not a fun thing, so. All right, so.
It's the bell that's getting me.
I never got one of those. Dale wouldn't let me have one.
Well,
No fair.
I'm trying to lose the clapper, but
All right, well, we're going to move on to new business, 5.1 HRA Commission member openings. May we have the staff report, please?
Yes, Chair Lewis, Commissioners, this is another information-only item for you this evening, just to give you basically a heads up that there are going to be 2 openings for the HRA Commission starting the beginning of the new year. And those openings are now being advertised on the city webpage. Should you have people that you know or have interest in, that may have an interest in applying. A future discussion item will be the bylaws as they discuss the selection of commissions and the size of the commission and council members serving as liaison. So in your item in your agenda today, it just again brings that to your attention, and that the board will need to discuss and decide whether one of the vacancies will be filled by a council member or it may be filled by a resident, and allow for a council member to be a non-voting liaison, which means they would not be a voting commissioner. So this item will be discussed at a future HRA meeting. Again, this is just kind of a heads up to you about those openings and about that future discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. I will bring up a comment that Commissioner Beloga did mention to me, and he was quite right in doing so, that it's the city council who really does appoint the commissioners. But we could make a recommendation to the city council if we chose to have a non-voting council liaison. So we wouldn't necessarily be changing it, but we could recommend it. Did I get that?
that is,
Correct.
yes, thank you.
Because I didn't want the city council to think we were trying to take away the things that their purview. I was using the big word today with Commissioner Beloga. So that when we discuss it, we would be making a recommendation to the city council.
Chair Lewis, can I just make
Yes.
a point of clarification? Because there was some confusion when we were doing the bylaws. The statute specifically provides that commissioners are appointed by the mayor with the approval of the city council.
Okay, all right.
So I understand that the city, the port, and the housing authority are all looking at the appointment process. So it might be slightly different this year. And I understand, Commissioner Beloga, that this was discussed at a recent city council meeting.
All boards were discussed at the recent city council meeting, but no conclusions were reached.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure
All
that
right, thank
we
you.
were all on the same page.
Thank you for that clarification. But when we do, yes, Commissioner Olson.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. I believe it was in 2012 or 13, Commissioner Beloga, that as a council, we spent a couple of evenings with a professional facilitator seeking to develop what ended up becoming 6 strategic goals, strategies for the city. And if you, just with a head nod, confirm that, two of them were, for the context now, 2 of them were inclusion and equity. And as we move forward and given the clarity of and reminder that the mayor appoints subject to council approval, I think it's important that my input includes, and perhaps HRA, but that we give due consideration to how the process impacts equity and inclusion. And that's not to say that anything on this particular point about whether a council member should be part of this, a voting member or not. We have talked about, as we did our strategic planning months ago, and worked really hard at that, and I think we felt good about the results. But one of the things that we looked at was expanding this commission number to perhaps 7, which would give more opportunity. My personal view is that we've talked about the importance of having an awareness of what it's like for the people that we are here to attempt to help per statute, and that's not easy to do. And so, as we talked about, and as I mentioned in the process of our strategic planning, I think it's important that we develop some kind of a process to have interaction with, for example, people who are involved in our Section 8 housing or other affordable housing projects that we have in place and are striving to increase. And secondly, that we do the same thing in terms of the, particularly the small businesses, in terms of that part of our charge of redevelopment of shopping areas or business areas that were generally speaking set up in the 50s and 60s and therefore have issues that go along with aged buildings and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to indicate that my voice will always be promoting the fact that we put equity and inclusion on the table for actions like this that have a direct impact on the residents that we represent. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Are there any other comments? Yes.
Madam Chair, just to be
Commissioner
responsive to Commissioner Olson, it was 2018, I believe, when that planning meeting, since that was organized by now City Manager Verbugi, and 2012 would have been prior to his being hired as City Manager. It's sort of a non-material item, but just for reference. The other item is that there was 5 original, and equity inclusion was 1 pillar, and then it was expanded to 6 at a later date, about 18 months ago. And I think that while your points are good, it really doesn't speak to the issue that's going to be discussed about how the City Council is represented on the HRA. And I know that you served as the HRA Commissioner from the City Council for several years, and I have now for several years. And I believe that it's important to have an investment in there rather than a non-voting. And the difference is the dedication of time. As people in general have a lot of requirements on their time, attendance of meetings can go to other items if there's not a vote and they don't feel that they're really contributing something and other than just information. So that's one of the factors that I feel need to be weighed, and I think the equity and inclusion part can be met through, there are 2 separate items in my mind, because if the board is expanded to 7 seats, there's more opportunities to fill those positions. So, but I agree with the comments in general that you've made. Thanks for the time.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. Maybe we can have conversation about the history. What I was referring to was when we met at the Public Works Building those 2 nights, and that was while I was still on council. So whatever the year was, but the bottom line is we have worked hard, and I'm proud of our city for doing that, to have strategies and to work in increasingly informed in informed ways to have a good community. So and just to if I wasn't clear, my comments were in no way indicating that I didn't think that we should have a council member on this board. Thank you.
And thank you, Commissioner Olson. And my comments, I think there have been interesting points on both sides. As far as expanding the board to 7, I believe that's a state legislative item. Carla, could you address that, please?
Chair Lewis, that is correct. Currently, your statutory authorization limits you to 5 commissioners.
Okay.
We would certainly be happy to explore getting legislation to change that. And if you were to increase from 5 to 7, then you would be required to have a resident commissioner from one of your housing projects.
Right. So that would be, that would be a very concrete way to deal with expanding the board and getting more resident participation. So that would be something else we could discuss, since this is a discussion item right now. But when it comes forward, that would be another approach
Correct.
we could do if we wanted to pursue that. Ultimately, I think it would be to our benefit to expand the board to 7. But I know our lobbyists may be lobbying on other issues besides expanding our board. So I understand that we don't always move up to the top of the list. Yes, Commissioner Beloga.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an ideal time to have the discussion because the legislative agenda for establishment for the upcoming legislative session will be undertaken by City Council in the next probably 6 weeks or 8 weeks. So, this would certainly not be one of the top priorities of that, but I also don't think that this is a major item that it's going to be controversial at the legislature.
No.
That a city just needs this authority. So it could be easily included on as a rider to another bill that also is non-controversial. So
Thank you. That's very good to know. That's very good to know.
And also, Commissioner Beloga, Chair Lewis, I know the city has their own lobbyists. Our firm also has lobbyists, so there's some opportunity if you wanted to engage us to assist with that endeavor. We would be
Okay.
more than happy to do that.
thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Olson?
Thank you, Chair Lewis. This is a discussion item. We've talked about it before, going back several months, and appreciate your presence here tonight and your comments. I think that I believe as we were talking about this in our strategic planning, which was last fall, I guess, several meetings, that we were wanting to look into it. And so you're hearing the discussion of 3 of us is part of the input, I think, to you, and look forward to Administrator Coleman, when she gets back, to be engaged with you and other staff and whoever needs to be gathering information. So we are speaking about the contexts of this, the implications of taking this kind of action and so forth. And I would just add, there's a smile right now under my mask, but I would also add that sometimes, including tonight, we're close to not having a quorum, and so the odds are a little bit better. I think we would need 4 out of 7.
Majority of those present, correct?
Which would end up helping us have meetings. So,
Yes, that is a very good point. That's a sound point.
The smile is now faded.
Well, Chair Lewis, Commissioners Olson and Beloga, we have definitely been discussing this with staff for quite some time, actually. And, but to Commissioner Beloga's point, he is correct that people are gearing up for the next session, and it's a short session. So if the board desires to move forward, now would be the time to get going if we want to do it in 2022.
Okay. Well, I feel like we would need to put it on maybe an upcoming agenda, since this is a discussion only and a small group. But I think that is a good recommendation that we look at moving this forward now versus waiting. I think because that would sort of answer some of these other questions that we have before us. So that would be very helpful. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. All good points.
Good suggestion. Is there any further discussion on this item?
Madam Chair, I would
Yes.
suggest that we ask staff to add that agenda item on to the next meeting.
Thank you. Is
I
that possible,
concur.
Brian? Do you need more than that, or do you want us to do
I can certainly inform Administrator Coleman of that request. Yes.
that we would appreciate that.
Yep.
Because I
certainly.
think this is a really good opportunity. The timing seems right, so good time to step up. Because we did talk about that in our strategic planning meetings, so.
Well,
everything-
can we, since this is Madam Chair, would you accept a motion to direct staff to enter that for the following meeting?
And my Roberts rules gets a little fuzzy here. Will that fit within Roberts rules, Myra? Can I accept a motion on a discussion item?
If we feel that it's necessary to make a motion, otherwise you can give staff direction.
I make the motion that I've previously said,
Okay,
to direct staff to include expansion of the HRA Commission from 5 to 7 at the next agenda.
thank you.
Commissioner Olson,
Is there a
second.
second? All right, it has been moved by Commissioner Beloga, second by Commissioner Olson, that we direct staff to, and I didn't quite get all the wording, I'm sorry.
To direct staff to add an agenda item to consider expansion of the HRA Commission members from 5 to 7.
Thank you, Commissioner Beloga. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Beloga.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Motion passed 3-0.
Thank you very much. All right, we can now move to our last item, which is, I'm looking for my glasses, sorry. And this is our final item, which is discussion item 6.1, Commissioner Questions and Answers. Is there anything else the commissioners would like to bring up this evening? Commissioner Olson.
There's a partial void because there's two voices missing tonight, so I guess I'm wanting to fill it. Just one of the things that I get a sense of but don't know is how we're doing as an HRA in terms of staff numbers and time and so forth. And I'm not sure if I'm asking for this being a discussion at the next meeting, but I would like to indicate to Administrator Coleman that I, for one, would like to know in terms of, for example, what I, as a commissioner, should expect and what I shouldn't expect in terms of staff involvement. And Mr. Hartman, you're very involved and have been for many years on the housing side of housing programs that we have, Section 8 and beyond. And if there are ways that, as a commissioner or as a commission, that we can be supportive of that. Obviously, one of the factors is budget, and you know, we've talked about our budget for next year, and if there's something that we can do to promote discussion initially about are we adequately staffed for what we are doing. One of the I've been on and off the HRA for a number of years, and the Planning Commission prior to that, and the dynamics are changing even before COVID in terms of the kinds of situations, issues that an HRA is asked to deal with. And so if in fact our workload collectively, and in this case particularly regarding staff, has increased, I think it would be good for us to be aware of what our realities are, and be voices to support what is appropriate given the constrictions of budget money.
Commissioner Olson, I did speak with Administrator Coleman on that issue today, just briefly, and she, I think, will be bringing it forward.
Okay.
She has also, felt that it's something that we need to look at, just to discuss. So it will be coming forward.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know exactly what, but it is an issue. I think that's a genuine concern, and I know that is something Administrator Coleman has been working on and thinking about, so.
At the very least, I think awareness, I would like to have more awareness of what the context is in terms of how I fit into it and so forth.
No, I think that's a good comment. Is there any comments, Commissioner Beloga? All right, it's just something for another meeting, so are there any other comments from commissioners for this evening? Because if not, I would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Olson moves that we adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
No. I love this power.
It works well in Washington.
Second.
The power would be diluted if we had more people. 7.
It has been moved by Commissioner Olson, second by Commissioner Beloga, that we adjourn. May we have the roll call vote?
Beloga.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Motion passed, 3-0. We are adjourned at 6:45.
Are we?